Hello everybody, welcome to today's battle report. 4,500 point game of Warriors of the Dark Gods against Saurian Ancients. I'll just talk you through the lists quickly here and then we'll get straight onto it. So Jake is playing Warriors of the Dark Gods. He's got 8 Barbarian Horsemen here, a Chimera here. Just behind the Chimera, you can just about see the top of it. There's a Sorcerer here. 4 Dragon Centaurs here, another Sorcerer here, 4 Crushers here, another Sorcerer right there. He's got 5 Fallen here, an Elder Dragon Centaur here, and then not deployed yet, ambushing, he's got some Barbarians with a Barbarian hero right there. On my side, I've got a Stygiosaur, I've got 5 Caimans, 15 Skink Braves, 30 Skink Braves with a single Cayman, 15 Skink Braves, I've got a Tarasaur BSB, 3 Scar Veterans, another 15 Skink Braves, another 5 Caymans, and another Stygiosaur over here. This is deployment. Let's get into Vanguards. Alright, so Jake's Vanguards, just the one is the Barbarian Horseman just coming up here on the right flank of the board from his point of view. Nothing else is vanguarding, so that's that. Let's get on to turn 1. Okay, so Jake's got the first turn then, and you can see that he's moved his vanguarding troops right up into the face of my Caymans, meaning that my Caymans can't make any charges at these units here. Other than that, everything is just generally moving up. He's got his Sorcerers just kind of hanging out around the back a little bit. One of these Sorcerers has got a really nice combo of the Ring of Fire with the Metal Shifting spell, so there's a bunch of flaming attacks after making you flammable, so that's pretty cool. His other 2 have got Awaken the Beast, so possibly some synergy with the toughness and strength of his troops a little bit later on. But yeah, that's it for now. Just moving up and advancing really. That's the end of Jake's movement 1. And at the end of Jake's turn, not a lot particularly exciting. He doesn't have a lot of ranged weapons. Managed to dispel his spells. He caused a wound on the Caymans down here with his throwing weapons. So that's the end of Jake's turn 1. Okay, so my movement turn 1 then. Just the one charge. The Caymans are going to charge these Barbarian Horsemen. Got to get them out of the way. Can't have them just sitting there, so that's no good. Other than that, things are sort of moving up and advancing really. I've sent the Skinks out here to the front just to tie these Dragon Centaurs up for a turn. The Troglodon's coming round, possibly some fire breathing over here is what I'm thinking. Similar thing with these Skinks here, just hold these Crushers up so that the Tarasaur can charge in. Keeping my distance here against the Dragon Centaur Elder with my Caymans. I want to try and double team him. I'm just not sure how they'll do against him. Characters coming up, threatening the flank a little bit of this unit, obviously. And the big unit here is kind of staying still where it is. So that's the end of my movement 1. Okay, so end of my turn 1 then. You can see the Caymans made predictably swift work of the Barbarian Horsemen. So that was good. Couldn't use my breath weapon. I'd thought that the breath weapon range was 8 inches, but it turned out to be 6, so that made me a little bit sad. But there you go. That's the end of my turn 1. Okay, so Jake's movement turn 2 then. He's charged the unit of Caymans with his Chimera here down in the bottom right corner. He's charged the Skink Chaff units, hoping to smash through them, which is quite likely, really. He has charged against this unit of Skinks, which has fled, causing the Centaur here to fail his charge. So I'm now hoping to get a double charge against him with the Stygiosaur and the Caimans, although that is a little bit long for the Caimans. Other than that, Jake has moved one of his sorcerers around here to get some fire metal shifting on my Stygiosaur over here. And he's chaffing up my 3 characters with his unit of Fallen here. So that's the end of Jake's movement turn 2. Okay, so end of Jake's turn 2 then. And you can see that the Chimera did not have a great day against the Caimans. I used the Predatory Roar on my Troglodon here, Stygiosaur, which meant that my Caimans could re-roll missed hits. They had Hatred. The Chimera did quite a bit of damage to the Caimans. It took out, 8 wounds? But they managed to finish him off with re-rollable Strength 7 hits. So, yeah, quite happy with that side of the board. In the middle, Skinks got mushed through as was expected. And the Centaurs overran, but not enough to run into this big unit here, which means that this unit's going to be able to reform and be steadfast for ages, so that's good. In the middle here, I got really lucky. I had made a mistake with the placing of my Taurosaur, and if Jake had have aligned his troops correctly, then he'd have been able to have this one here just overlap and just clip the Taurosaur on the pursuit. We had a bit of a discussion about it, and I did point this out to Jake, but what we said was that if one skink survived, then he would have to pursue it, which would take the unit in a diagonal, just slightly away from the Taurosaur. At that point, I think Jake decided to move his troops over a little bit, which meant that if he overran, he wouldn't clip the Taurosaur. But as it turned out, he probably should have kept them where he'd originally planned to have them, because he ripped through all 15 skinks. So yeah, that's that really. Other than that, I think I'm working from memory here because I've left my notes somewhere else. I think the Stygiosaur took a wound from the metal shifting fireball spell over here. I think I got quite lucky with that actually. And I think that's about it actually. Yeah, that's the end of Jake's turn 2. Okay, my turn 2 then. So I declared a bunch of charges. Starting on this side of the board over here, I declared a charge with the Stygiosaur and the Caimans, which the Centaur fled from, and he just managed to evade me, which caused me to fail both charges. But I'm not so worried about that really, because that means that next turn he's only going to be able to rally, and I'll be able to get him next turn, so that's fine. I charged this unit of Fallen with my 3 characters. I expect them to rip through that unit there, which will mean that I'll be able to head this way with my characters. Because of what had happened in the middle, I was able to get a flank charge on the Crushers with my Taurosaur, which I think is going to be quite deadly really, because this thing's got the Spear of Stampede, so it's got 2d6 plus 1 impact hits re-rollable, so that's going to be quite nasty. In this area of the board, I declared a charge against the sorcerer that was here. Jake obviously hadn't expected this unit to survive the Chimera attack, so the sorcerer was in a bit of a compromising position really. He fled quite poorly, and I caught him on my charge, and so I was able to reform there. Elsewhere in the phase, my skinks here rallied, which was good, on a re-rollable cold-blooded 5, which is effectively 7 by everyone else's standards. Troglodon here, no, not Troglodon, Stygiosaur, got to start using the right terminology. Stygiosaur here turned around to do some breath weapons and generally threaten this sorcerer here. And my big unit of Braves with the one Cayman in it reformed, ready to be steadfast against this unit here. So that's the end of my movement turn, I think 2. Okay, so end of my turn 2 here then. It's gone really well for me. The Pterosaur did a bunch of wounds on the Crushers, and they only did 1 wound back on it. Obviously, with it being a flank charge, they didn't get any support attacks, so that was quite nasty for them. And then they fled really poorly. I think they ran like 5 or 6, something like that. And the Pterosaur caught them. So, yeah, that was bad news. Got a couple of wounds on the sorcerer here from my breath weapon, but he's still alive, which means he's going to be able to continue threatening me with his annoying fireball metal shifting combo. Ripped through the Fallen as predicted, which meant that this unit here could reform. So this Elder Centaur's in a really tricky position now. And I think that's it for my turn. What would that be? Turn 2, I think. Okay, so into Jake's movement turn 3 then. 1 charge. The Dragon Centaurs have charged this big unit of Braves here. Other than that, what's happened? Well, his Elder Centaur here has rallied from its earlier flee. His Barbarians with the Barbarian Hero have come onto the board here, which potentially puts me in a bit of a difficult position later on with these Caymans. We'll have to see. And on this side of the board, the Sorcerer has zipped round the side of the Stygiosaur here to get out of its charge arc. This Sorcerer is just kind of hanging back now, staying behind the ruins, keeping his distance. So that's the end of Jake's movement turn 3. Okay, so end of Jake's turn 3 then. You can see that he's finished off the Stygiosaur down here during the magic phase. He's killed a bunch of skinks here, but with being steadfast and having a Cayman in here who's leadership 7, cold-blooded, this unit isn't really going anywhere. It's also got the gleaming icon on it, so even if they fail 1 test, they get another one. And the Pterosaur was even in range, so very unlikely that they were going to break. And yeah, that's it for the end of Jake's turn 3. Okay, so my movement 3 then. I declared a charge against the Dragon Centaur Elder here with both the Caymans and the Scar Veterans. But the Caymans failed their charge, so they're in a real pickle now over here. I have brought the Caymans round here and the Pterosaur round here to double charge this unit of Centaurs. Just hoping that the Skinks can stay steadfast and hold up for long enough. I've brought the Stygiosaur over here to threaten this Sorcerer. With my Stygiosaur down here having died, there's nothing I can do about this guy right now, so I'm just going to have to let him be. I've moved these Skinks back 3 inches just so they can't be charged in the rear. No point in just giving away those points there. So that's the end of my movement 3. Okay, so end of my turn 3 then. The veterans sorted out the Elder. Took a couple of wounds on one of them, but that was that really. And the Stygiosaur managed to breath weapon off the Sorcerer here. Of course, the Stygiosaur's got toxic attacks, so that cut through the armour of the Sorcerer there. The Skinks have taken an absolute pounding, as predicted, but they have held, so that's good news. And one of these Centaurs is down to a single wound, so I've only got to cause 1 wound on it in the next round of combat with my Cayman here is the most likely candidate for that, and then they'll have no ranks, which will mean the the skinks will be able to remain steadfast, hopefully long enough for these 2 units to come in here. So that's the end of my turn 3. Okay, now this is the photograph from the end of Jake's turn 4. We missed the photograph from his movement phase, but not a lot happening really. The barbarians declared a charge against the Caymans. I didn't want to take that in the rear, so I fled. And then what I'm hoping to do is rally and be able to then take that in the front later on. So that happened over there, and the sorcerer brought himself around here just to threaten these Caymans with a bit of magic. But I think I managed to dispel his spells. Well, the one that mattered anyway. So that was good. So at the end of the turn, then you can see that the Cayman did manage to take out one of the centaurs. So many skinks have died that he's now on the front rank. But I'm still 5 models wide. Well, 5 bases wide. I've got 4 models because the Cayman takes up the space of 2. But that makes me steadfast as far as I know it. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Which meant that this unit has held for long enough for the Pterosaur and the Caymans to come in to finish off these centaurs, I hope. So yeah, that's the end of Jake's turn 4. Okay, so my turn 4 then here. Double charge on the Centaur unit with the Cayman and the Pterosaur. I've rallied my other Caymans over here, ready to receive this charge should it come. The Stygiosaur's turned around as well, might as well try and support the Caymans here. And then my 3 characters have split up, trying to sort of hound this sorcerer later on in the game, just try and squeeze him into the corner and then take him out near the end. I've got no ranged weapons to use against him, so I'm just going to have to try and usher him off the board really. I've moved the Braves out here now since they're not in any danger. Just for the fun of it really. So that's the end of my movement. What are we on? I think we're on movement 4 now. Okay, so end of my turn 4 then. You can see the Pterosaur's impact hits were what did it with the centaurs, because they didn't even get any attacks back. So yeah, that was a bit brutal over there. So I've reformed the Caymans here. They've got 2 turns of marching, so that's 24 inches, which I'm hoping will get me into Jake's deployment zone, because the secondary objective is to get scoring units into your opponent's deployment zone. I've reformed this Pterosaur over here because I'm aware that Jake's got a scoring unit in my deployment zone here, so I'm hoping to be able to reach that there by the end of turn 6 with 1, 2, 3, hopefully. So yeah, that's the end of my turn 4. Okay, so Jake's movement 5 then, and he's basically shuffled his barbarians over 2 inches, obviously playing a longer term game, trying to not get charged by the Pterosaur, and he's brought his sorcerer behind the forest, making it a long charge through dangerous terrain, should I even think about trying it. That's it for Jake's movement 5. So in Jake's turn 5, he cast his metal shifting fireball combo, but didn't do any wounds. I dispelled the metal shifting, and then my armor and ward saves on my character here. He went for the right one, trying to finish off this character who's on 1 wound, but my armor and ward save combo there sorted that out. So that was the end of Jake's turn 5. Okay, so on to my turn 5 then. No charges, just generally hounding. I've spread out my Scar veterans in a way that I hope makes it difficult for this sorcerer to try and sneak between them. I've got the Caymans moving up here towards the secondary objective. I've brought these Caymans into range for a charge. I'm hoping to try and bait Jake out of the secondary objective area, but I don't think he'll go for it. So Tarasaurus marched into charging range, I hope, over here, and the Stygiosaurus coming in for a bit of support there. So that's the end of my movement 5. Okay, so end of my turn 5 then, and I killed a barbarian with, I think it was the swarm of insects. Exciting stuff for turn 5. That's the end of my turn 5, folks. Okay, so Jake's movement 6 then. Apologies for the quality of this photo. Don't know what was going on with my camera at this point. So yeah, Jake has moved from behind the forest, brought himself over here, take a pot shot at the caimans, might get lucky in the magic phase. And over here, the barbarians have continued to shuffle sideways, getting closer to the Stygiosaur, but further away from the Tarasaur. So that's the end of Jake's movement 6. And then at Jake's turn 6 here, I dispelled his metal shifting. I think he only got like 3 on the magic dice or something, so he didn't have any follow-up spells. So that's the end of Jake's turn 6. Okay, so this is the end of my movement turn 6, and you can see the Tarasaur has failed its charge. It failed by 1 inch, so all that shuffling that Jake was doing in turn 5 and 6 paid off. So yeah, just the caimans and the Stygiosaur going in there against the against all those barbarians. So we'll have to see whether they break or not. Other than that, the caimans here made it into Jake's deployment area, which means that the secondary objective of invading your opponent's deployment zone is shared. So neither of us get that. And the other units haven't moved because there's no difference in whether they do or not, really. So that's the end of my movement turn 6. Okay, so this is the end of my turn 6, and you can see that the barbarians have held with their steadfast. They've taken a bunch of wounds, but they've got more ranks than me, and that was always the likely outcome. And so the game ended there at 15-5. So yeah, that was that. I think the game was really characterised by a couple of pivotal moments, as they usually are. Over here on this side of the board, when that Chimera didn't take out the caimans because of my predatory roar, that meant that this flank of the field essentially collapsed for Jake, and he was always on the back foot. I felt that this sorcerer that's still alive at the end of turn 6 really kind of kept Jake in the game a little bit on this side of the board, but he was always on the back foot. But he's a bargain, this guy, so he's done quite well for that. The other moment, probably the biggest moment in the game, was when those crushers didn't line up to overrun into the Tarasaur, because had they have run into the Tarasaur, it would have been a frontal charge. They'd have been stronger from their devastating charge rule. The Tarasaur wouldn't have been able to come and rescue these skinks. It would have totally changed the game in the middle of the board, really. So that was a big moment there. This side of the board just kind of played out, I think, as normal, really. So yeah, that was it, really. Right, guys, I'm done for today. Hope to see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.